Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, it's Halloween hangover. Actually, no, we did not. The rum video, the death match, we just did tastings. We did sipping. So we're no hungover at all. And also, it's not only Halloween on the weekend, like the Ghetto Boy said. Oh, excuse me. It's the Dia de los Muertos. It's the Day of the Dead. And so we're keeping this going. Room Morgue. Now, it's funny. Remember the Halloween issue I went over in like early September? Well, this came out a couple days ago before Halloween, but somehow this is not the Halloween issue. You know what? Who cares? It's all right. I don't know why they do that, but we'll go through here. The ugly sweater with the thing. I guess I hate that whole ugly sweater thing. It's very like I don't know, like hipsterish. But I mean, if you're gonna have an ugly sweater, you should have the poster from the thing. Let's go through here. Andrea's here. It's interesting. Andrea, nothing. Guillermo del Toro. The man loves Toronto for some weird reason, and he shoots here as much as he can. Well, yes, because your government, which subsidizes you, also gives you tax incentives to people to film in Canada. Actually, I think Trudeau's dad, Pierre, came up with that. So, like I said, you need socialism. Oh, people get mad. All right, so we go through here. It's interesting. Oh, I saw this. I remember this as a kid. It came out as a children's book that came out in the early 80s. I remember this. There's also the same team here. They did a version of Dracula as well. And it's funny that these were like for kids because they were violent. I remember reading them being like, ooh, ooh. It was like, they made like the Karloff looking monster, but he was of course the monster from the novel, the creature who was highly intelligent, and he gets his revenge. And I mean, you see him like, obviously they kill people. So as for a kid's book, I'll never forget these. And apparently they're on eBay between 25 and 45 bucks. But when I saw this, early memory shot up. It's bizarre. So now this is the mainstay here. Of course, Guillermo del Toro is doing a Frankenstein version, and Andrea interviewed him. And you know what? I've been a little hard on Guillermo del Toro. Okay, I don't know how to say this. He is a talented man. It's just one of those things where I could admit the guy is a visionary. He's talented. I don't his beliefs, whatever. Who cares? And yeah, that we'll post all that in a way. Okay, but what I mean is like I still don't have any desire to see this film, but I can recognize the man is a talented artist. Okay, a nouveau riche bourgeois family that came from more humble origins. I think his father was, I don't know, kidnapped by the cartels at one point. I don't know if he was murdered as well. So, and of course, growing up the way he did, he has that liberal guilt, I guess, or whatever. I could never ever understand that, but it's fine. And Andre has a whole thing here. Of course, Mother Frankenstein. Now, Mary Shelley. I'm reading currently The Last Man, and it is really, she really is an amazing writer. That is a grim book. I was not able to finish for Halloween season yet, but they go over here. Of course, she puts up. Oh, she was a rebel. She went with this Percy Blythe Shelley. She didn't care about what her, what the family thought. Of course, and all this. But of course, the real thing about it is the tragic life she had. Okay, all the people around her dying, which was a normal thing. Your children dying was a normal thing that happened to people all over the world. So it was an interesting article here. So of course she has to get like the feminist thing in, but I don't know, man. When you're reading The Last Man, it's very interesting. The only villain I can find in that was actually the mother of the Austrian princess. Was the mother of one of the characters. Is the only really like evil character I've seen in this book. So I think there was a lot of reaction to certain things. Okay, her mother was a famous proto-feminist or whatever, but I think there was a reaction of the reality of life coming to Mary Shelley. I don't want to say what it is. Of course, you could argue that the Romanticism was reactionary. Well, it was a reaction to the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment, which basically took your supernatural and natural world and separated them. So now it could only exist in fiction. A very interesting thing here. This actually was a decent interview. If you're a fan of Guillermo del Toro, Um, yeah, I would get it. And the Andrea is actually more, it's interesting. Andrea is a little more restrained in this from her usual, like, loaded questions or whatever, or trying to gear him to. I think it's because she actually respects this guy. It could be counterintuitive. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but she respects this guy too much to make like some kind of like, you know, fashionable statement of the moment. So, anyway, we got this here. Oh, we got this the drag queens doing a show with this guy, the supporting actor, this guy who plays like the guy from Late Night with the Devil. Now it's interesting. I'll just leave it that the potential of you keep this horror thing going. Okay, the busy season is obviously October for this sort of stuff, but extending it to Christmas, they're making like an anthology film where they're the hostesses or the hosts or whatever. To keep the horror thing going. I always say that November and December. I mean, October is horror month, but November and December is when everything looks withered and dead. Okay, The Raven came out. It was taking place in December. So the idea of, hey, let's keep the horror thing going, particularly with the postmodern, decadent population, which still has some money to spend, probably not for long. We'll try to do that. That's why they also have the other thing, that halfway to Halloween thing, which actually, but the Hell House that we went to last night, me and Arkham, the girl mentioned they do a halfway to Halloween. They're trying to do that too. Now, of course, I say halfway to Halloween, just make it Walpurgis night. Let's make it a holiday in America and have more horror stuff. But probably not gonna happen. So, in terms of this horror anthology, whatever, Shudder, I don't have streaming, so I don't know. So, and I will say, you know what? I know you expected me to say something here, and no. These two apparently have really built their thing up from scratch. This guy here was a character actor. I think he had a bad drug problem at one point. He overcame it. He has a family. And he sort of built up a thing here. He's very much a horror fan. I'm gonna give credit. Yeah, I know. You're like, well, you're turning on us. I'm giving credit to these him and them. They built their thing up from nothing. They're creative people, okay, who've used whatever revenue they made from other things and they put it back into creativity. I can't insult that. I can't whatever, if I don't agree with things that they believe in or say. I can't go against that. I give them full respect. So, anyway, yeah, I know. Maybe, anyway. Now, this interesting here. There's a book about Holy Terror, the Bible. But what I thought was interesting was, the guy wrote a book. All right. The horror in Scripture. Well, a lot of your horror is in the Old Testament. Okay. And obviously, since a lot of the stuff is in the Old Testament, you're not looking at this dude here. So she had to throw in something about of course, the Catholic Church, which is always interesting because never in the English-speaking world, in my opinion, other than like the Hays Code, which was actually made films better, in my opinion, not by intention. The Catholics are always they're never really part of the establishment. Okay, they are like the separate thing which needs to be demonized. Now this book here is about for example, I keep bringing up the best Spanish horror films. They came out during when the evil Franco was the dictator of Spain. Okay, it wasn't the People's Republic of Spain. What a shame, right? But the greatest movies they made was when this guy was supposedly a heavy-handed dictator, right? And in turn, here the Vatican. Now, of course, the Vatican spoke out against. And this is about the horror, Italian horror. Okay, Italian horror. Those guys didn't give it. You saw it. You saw the films. You know the films. Never did the Vatican. Were they able to stop any of this stuff happening. Because someone says this is no good. This is of the devil. Whether it's music or movies or whatever, none of it really worked. Where did it work? Where did you have censorship of these films where people were being thrown in jail for this? In the very un-Catholic ruled, supposedly socialist, post-secular British, UK. UK were arresting people for that. Okay? The Vatican and even in America, none of that was happening. It's just interesting to see that. You protest too much. And you don't protest the real people. But anyway, you want to keep your jobs. All right, just reviews, most of the reviews here. There's that gone over the Queens of the Dud, and it's like, Galen Ross is in that. Remember Galen Ross? Remember Madman? She has a where she was had a different name. The movie Madman. She has a topless scene in that. And here, at the time of the drag in the LGBT community is being increasingly vilified and threatened by the powers that be. Okay, all right, keep on with that. So the powers that be put that stuff on you. Okay, but now if they're shifting that to be the scapegoat, which I don't think is happening. Right, the vibe shift is very superficial, but it's interesting to see that. Okay, none of this stuff was put on you hard until corporations, in conjunction with the feds, put this on you. Never forget that. Never forget that. There's some more found footage, right? The found footage will never die. You will never get rid of it. Right here, this is interesting. Good boy. Oh, I want to see this. And I know all of you are thinking like me. Please don't kill the dog at the end. Please. So I don't know. Don't spoil it in the comments, huh? Here we got coyotes. Now it's interesting. Coyotes is a nature revenge thing with killer coyotes. Okay. Now coyotes, it's interesting that reports of them attacking, let alone killing people, are basically non-existent. Now this is true. This is technically true, but there's two things I'll take to task for this review. One of the few people actually killed by coyotes was a young Canadian woman hiking somewhere in Canada, obviously. She was killed by coyotes. She was a very small, petite woman, young. She was killed by coyotes. The fact that you didn't know that from your country, well, whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. So she was like the only one. I think someone was killed in like the 70s. So it is essentially non-existent. But it wasn't non-existent for her when she was being eaten alive, was it? Okay. And secondarily, too, demonizing these creatures feels wrong. Well, man, when Europeans came over to North America, they literally waged a war of genocide on coyotes. And it shows you the resiliency, the adaptability, and the intelligence of these dogs. Not only did they not get decimated, they have moved into areas of habitation through scavenging and through lots of food now being around. They have actually taken territory where they never were before. Also, on the North American continent, wolves. The coyotes' biggest enemies were wolves. Well, they were annihilated. They were easily annihilated, mostly by the Europeans. The coyotes' worst enemy was taken out, and they have thrived everywhere. So it's very interesting. Don't worry, man. You could demonize these things forever. You'll never get rid of them. So they're probably running up. They'll run up your steps and kill your little dog. Let's wrap this up. Interesting here. Abel Gantz is a short horror film with this tragic World War I vet actor who had a very tragic lifestyle. Of course, the war, right? After suffering persistent health problems as well as PTSD from the war, always the war. This is interesting. I'd like to see this. Now, Abel Gantz, this is a short film. This guy, he made like a 12-hour movie about trains, remember? And they convinced him to tone it down a bit. So he made like a 4-hour cut. But that's like, this is what I'm saying with Rue Morgue. You know me. I know. You're saying you're turning. You're cooking for Rue Morgue now. When they have something good, I will say it. So, speaking of comics, I hate. American and I guess Canadian English sphere comics, horror comics are horrific. They suck. But look, we got Go Tanabe. Oh, the Japanese. Oh, I'm sorry. The only horror comics being made now that are new, that are worth a damn, are from Japan. Once again. And we got we're rounding this out. What is this? Look at this book. Beyond the Lesbian Vampire. Reclaiming the Violent Lesbian in Contemporary Queer Horror. All right. It's interesting how they analyze these amazing, groundbreaking films from the 2010s that I've never heard of. Okay. We got more here. Dark Sisters. Like the multi-generation tales about misogyny. Blah, blah, 3 times in history. A bloodline of women defies and resists patriarchy. The oppressive church. The community's men meet their reckoning. So once again, what I say a lot of horror is, now here's more horror here. Remember I went over the Homo sapiens. I like this. Essentially, these are just, they're not even, you could say they're revenge stories, I guess. Like, I make them that, what is it? Like, I spit on your grave. Except, and I spit on your grave, the woman had, had a reason. So, the men in the novel are complicit at best and sadistic at worst. A lot of all wet, sexist assholes in between. The end they meet is a grand guenon, revenge fantasy that leaves no room for nuance in judging their misdeeds. All right, there you go. I like that. The real purpose, create a microcosm of amazing American patriarchy and intersection. You get the drift. The witch, the witch was right. Robert Eggers film, The Witch was right. The ending of it. Do you understand the ending of? All right, enough. Oh, then they bring up here. Of course, this is interesting territory with the very problematic, a character here. Actually, Terror Train's a fucking great movie, man. I recommend it, but the character changes, the chameleon like ability of the killer was really, really good, really good. And just rounding out, I noticed something here, Audiodrome, the reviews. I'll just round it out. Now I noticed they do something they haven't done before. They have like a little thing here describing the genre to you right away. They used to just have the reviews, unless I missed it, which is possible. So they'll have instrumental, okay? They'll have pop. They'll have goth. They'll have rock, okay? They'll have punk. They'll have instrumental. They'll have metal. That's right. And we'll round it out. This looks cool. These two guys here, basically Tenebro. So these are like the brothers. I guess they make soundtrack music in the old vein of it, but I like this interaction. They are making their samples available for anyone to use DIY to make your own horror soundtracks or to make your music in general. This was really cool, man. This was really cool. I like this. So, and I'll round it out here with I love this. Revered visionary Maxime Tacardi returns with some kind of metal project inspired by Japanese horror, okay? Yorei, his one-man musical project, Kayo et Katsuki. Oh, wait a minute. He has a Japanese alter ego. Oh, he's culturally appropriating. This is an Italian guy pretending he's Japanese. How dare you? How dare you? I shall write a letter to Rue Morgue. Actually, I feel I get this. I like this too. I like that his decision to use saturated bass for the main riffs, which are then topped with regular bass, enhances the sinister vibe. Right off the bat, I like that. You could play a lot of heavy riffs, distorted riffs with a bass guitar. You don't even need to use a guitar. So the fact that he does that is really interesting. Of course, he does all the vocals because DIY, and he's an artist too. Dude, all right. This is a guaranteed purchase right here. So thank Rue Morgue for this. I know, Rue Morgue, man, you're growing on me. You're growing on me. I used to be a Rue Morgue fan back in the day. So you can argue that I'm reclaiming Rue Morgue. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Happy Day of the Dead. Okay. Bring on Thanksgiving.